Okay, so finishing up this topic, and I wanted to take my time through this because it's very important. So using trig ratios, find the missing side. So I want to find the length of this side. I'm given an angle, and I'm given one of my sides. So I'm going to use trig ratios, so I need to have SOHCAHTOA, and you're going to find you're going to be scrawling this somewhere on your page, on every page. So first thing is to identify your reference angle. Here it is down here, the 26 degrees. So that's my reference angle. I need to label my triangle accordingly. So we know that this is hypotenuse. It's across from the 90. I know this is the opposite because it's on the opposite side of my angle, which means this is my adjacent side. So what pieces of information do I know? This time I know an angle. So that means that I can use sine, cos, or tan for this question. And I also know an opposite. So that means that I can use either the sine function or the tan function in order to finish this question. The big question is, what am I looking for? And I'm looking for h. I'm looking for hypotenuse. So when I look at my two options, sine and tan, I see that sine has a hypotenuse in it, and TOA doesn't. Tan doesn't use it. So I have to use, going through that process, I have to use sine theta equals opposite over hypotenuse. All right? Absolutely have to do it that way. So now I can fill in my information. I know the angle is 26 degrees. So sine 26, and don't calculate it yet. Sine 26 is easier to write than 4 decimals, so do not write it at this point. Opposite, I know is 12. And my hypotenuse is c. That's the variable that we're looking for. We did this with similar triangles. Sine 26, is it a fraction? Absolutely. We can make it into a fraction because I'm just going to divide it by 1. The variable's in the denominator, so we have to flip both fractions. So it becomes 1 over sine 26 equals c over 12. Now I want to isolate for c, so I'm going to do a partial cross multiplication. I'm going to take this 12 and I'm going to multiply it up here. Basically what I'm doing, c is being divided by 12, opposite of dividing is multiplying, so I'm going to multiply both sides by 12. That means my final answer is 12 divided by sine 26 equals c. And for the people in here that are on the, let's call it the efficient side, you can leave your answer in that format. I would be super happy because this is an exact answer. For those that freak out a little bit when they're not allowed to touch the calculator, you may go ahead and calculate that. So bringing up my calculator, it would be 12. Then I would hit my divide button. Now I'm going to have to enter my angle first. That's the way my calculator works. 26 sine. I hit the sine button, and it spits out. That's not the final answer. All right, that is only what sine 26 is equal to. I have to hit an equal. So with your calculator, you should be able to get 27.4 for a final answer. So either of those are acceptable. You do have to practice with the calculator a little bit because when we get to the word problems, you'll have to calculate final answers. Okay? One more example with that. So, same thing. I'm looking for an unknown. The unknown is b. I need to find that. I know an angle, and I know a side. So I need to label my sides to know which sides I have. Well, that's across, so I know the hypotenuse. This is opposite, and the other side has to be the adjacent. So now, I know theta, I know the hypotenuse, and the A is what I'm looking for. So I go to SOHCAHTOA looking for A and H. So if I go back up to my SOHCAHTOA, which trig function has A and H in it? And you can see cos has A and H. So that right there tells you what trig ratio to use. So here are the steps that I expect to see on a test. I know I'm using cos, so I do cos theta equals A over H. Next, substitute in your information. I know that the angle is 50 degrees. I know that A is what I'm looking for, and it becomes a B, that's the variable, okay? So it looks a little bit funny, but... And then the hypotenuse is 15. Okay? Don't calculate cos 50. Okay, I don't want to see people carrying around decimals at this point. How do I get b by itself? Two ways. You can think of it as a partial cross multiplication. All right. Or you could say, what's happening to the b? It's being divided by 15. Opposite of dividing is multiplying. It doesn't matter to me which way you see it, as long as you get the answer, 15 multiplied by cos of 50. So again, the efficient people, you can leave it in that form because that's an exact answer. But at some point, you do need to know how to use the calculator. So with your calculator, you can simply punch in 15 multiplied by, I have to put my angle in first. Some people have to go cos 50. I have to go 50 cos. And then you need to make sure, whoops, I put in way too much information. I put 550 in there. So 15 times, oh, what's going on here? Silly calculator. 15 times 50 cos. And again, that's only cos 50. That decimal, you have to hit your equal sign. And I get 9.64, 9.6 watts. So there we go. That's how you find unknowns in a right triangle. So you make sure you got to go through and practice this, because you would not believe where this is used in the high school curriculum. If you plan on taking a physics course, absolute necessity, okay? Whether it's 3U or 4C physics, you have to be able to do trigonometry. You absolutely need trigonometry for grade 11 math and grade 12 math. If you're going into construction, engineering, anything like that, you need to know trigonometry. So I can't stress that enough. You have this in your note in front of you. I'm just going to go through it very quickly. Here are some tips. So always choose the angle that you're using or finding, and then label the sides accordingly. Okay, so you saw that in the example. Find your reference angle, label your sides. Cross out the side you don't need to use. Okay, that's kind of, to me, a mental thing, but off the start you may want to scratch it out. Decide which ratio to use. Which ratio uses the two remaining sides. So that's a checklist when you're looking at SOHCAHTOA. What do I know? What do I want to know? Which trig ratio has them all? Set up and solve your proportion. So we went through that. When you are finding an angle, you have to use shift or second or inverse. So you do need to make sure, because all these calculators are different, so it's very important. All right, so I'm going to leave it at that for now. If you have any problems, make sure you ask in class. I'll straighten out what I can immediately. If you can make sure you have a calculator for the whole semester, that would be great. And homework is on the website, so we'll see you in class.